What is up, my real estate friends? Joshua Smith here with today's Top Agent Interview, where I bring you strategies, systems, lead generation, tips, and more from top realtors and entrepreneurs that exist on the planet today. Today, I'm interviewing an amazing realtor that dominates his area. Unlike a lot of the mega agents we interview on this show that are in very, very large metro cities, that's not the case with this agent. He sells in Champaign, Illinois, which is about a population of around 140,000 people, and he has a huge percentage of his market share. In addition to dominating his market, he's one of the top Keller Williams agents in the world. This guy's a true entrepreneur who operates a large real estate team where he's the true CEO. He also owns a large portfolio of rental properties, land, and is the creator of one of the most powerful advanced Realtor CRM systems available on the market today. Today, he operates a team of 14, doing about $42 million a year in sales volume. I'm honored to have Ryan Dallas on the call today. Welcome to the show, my brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, Josh.
Yeah, it's an honor, man. Really, really stoked for today and diving in some of these questions. So before we get deep into your real estate business, let's talk a little bit about what you did before you got into real estate and kind of what your journey was like that got you into this business.
Yeah, so I graduated from Purdue University in 2005. Even though I'm from Champaign, which is home of the Fighting Illini, I did venture over to Indiana and went to Purdue, where I played baseball. And throughout my collegiate career, my goal was to be a pharmaceutical sales rep. That's what I thought and dreamed I wanted to be. So everything I did was kind of gearing towards that. And once I graduated in 2005, my resume was everywhere, and I was getting no response from that. And so my father, who's an actual local builder here in the Champaign area, he said, you should look into real estate. And I pushed it back for a while. And then finally I said, okay, let's do this. I'm going to get my real estate license. So I jumped right into it, took my real estate course. So I graduated from Purdue in May of '05, started real estate in August of '05. And I can tell you, I'm so thankful that I didn't get a job at GlaxoSmithKline or some other pharmaceutical rep company.
Yeah, no, you've been crushing it, man. And just to give our listener base an idea of Champaign, Illinois, why don't you give us an idea of what your market is like today? I know when in the intro I said about 140,000 population. I think that's somewhat close, but just give us an idea of what your market looks like, population size, average price point, days on the market. Are you in a seller's market, buyer's market?
Yeah, so when you talk about our overall market, and Josh, you know you've been here, we've got Champaign County is what really I work, and including all the little communities surrounding. There's about 180,000 total in my area that I specialize in. Outside of that are a lot of cornfields, so we don't have a lot of places to stretch for generating more and more listings and more buyers. Our current active agent count for our entire community is right around 350 realtors. So, like I said, very small market. Our total inventory actually is down by 20%. I was just talking with our listing team yesterday about this. It's a huge opportunity for our sellers, of course, with the inventory down and less competition, but we're down 20%. So we have a total of 1,300 homes on the market right now in our entire multiple listing service.
Wow.
So it's definitely tightened down. We're typically around that 1,700 mark. We very rarely have I seen it get this low. Our average sale price as a total community is right around 150,000, give or take a little bit. It's averaged anywhere from 130 to 150 over the last 6 years or so. So pretty lower average sale price compared to most markets as well. But I tell you, our market offers a lot of great things. We're a campus community. The University of Illinois breathes life into new businesses. So we do have a lot of turnover, a lot of people coming in and out. So a great opportunity here.
Yeah, and so with the that lack of inventory on the market, are you guys seeing typically supply and demand? When we have lower inventory in the market, it becomes a seller's market, and prices are starting to spike and rise. Are you seeing a lot of that? Are you seeing multiple offers? Or are you seeing prices increase with that lower inventory?
I tell you, it's interesting. Of course, we're in the Midwest where everything's pretty steady. So while all the market all over the United States kind of tanked in 2008, 2009, 2010, we did see a little decrease, but not a huge decrease because we never saw that huge increase with appreciation. So what we're seeing is not necessarily increased prices, but we're seeing less days on market. typically this time of year, we're looking, my real estate team is looking at about 90 days on market. Right now, we're just under 60 days on market. So with the low interest rates compiled with not a lot of inventory, we're seeing these sellers able to really turn their properties quickly.
Yeah, so you're carrying less inventory, but you're turning that much faster, which kind of somewhat
That's
makes up for it.
that's exactly right.
So, okay, so you got licensed in 2005, and I know you've got a mega team that's extremely successful today, but I know you didn't start there. So, let's kind of walk through what your journey was like. How long were you in the business? How did you start out? When did you get to the point where you decided you wanted to start a team, and kind of walk us through that journey?
Yeah, so I was actually a buyer agent on the top producing team in my county at the time. So as soon as I got out of the real estate course, of course, like Josh and so many of us that are successful, a huge key factor in that is who we surround ourselves with. And so I found the top team in the community, and I joined their team. And I was able to be coached by him, and I'd learned systems that he had implemented for his team. And he grew me as an agent, as a person, and as a business person. And so I was with this gentleman for just under 2 years, and learned a lot of valuable information. At that point, I felt like I was ready to venture off onto my own, start implementing some of my new ideas that I had formed after being in the business, as well as implementing a lot of systems that I was taught, scripts, daily accountability, things that matter. So about 2 years into my career, I jumped off and I started my own. And when I say started my own, I think people misinterpret that. What that means is I was a buyer agent, a listing agent. I was my admin for quite some time. I was doing everything, juggling all the balls. It didn't happen overnight. And I think that's a misinterpretation that a lot of agents that aren't there yet, they want to jump right into this hiring step. But I think before the hiring step, you've got to master or at least know these trades as well so that you know what you're hiring for.
Yeah, and then I see a lot of agents that they want to start a team because they want to start a team, it's not necessarily out of necessity. And I'm kind of a believer in you. Yeah, you can want to start a team, but you start it at the point where it's absolutely necessary. When you're kind of bursting out of the seams, and so at what point did you decide? Gosh, man, I'm at my max capacity. I need to start delegating some of this stuff out. And then what did that look like? What did that process?
Yeah.
Was it an admin first, buyer agent first?
Yeah, so I did things wrong at the very beginning, and what it looked like for me is I was busting at the seams, like you said. My family life was actually taking a hit because of that. I had two young daughters at the time, and my wife, and I was never home 7 days a week, working till 10 p.m. at night, just trying to do everything. When I was home, I was catching up on paperwork. And so I felt like what I needed to do, because I was transaction based and trying to sell as many homes, as hire a buyer agent. And that was a terrible decision. What it basically made me be is a listing agent, a part-time buyer agent, and a double-time admin, because then I was doing all the administrative and clerical data information that for my buyer agent. And so I quickly realized this was not going to work. And I actually ended up letting that first buyer agent go because it was just I was inundated with so much extra paperwork, and the I's weren't being dotted and the T's weren't being crossed, and it was just a nightmare for me. And so at that point, I realized I needed to hire an administrative assistant, and that was my second hire. And a lot of learning curves through hiring that administrative assistant too. I think I went through three different administrative assistants in a very short amount of time because I'd never been taught the importance of hiring and the steps and strategies to go through with that. And so I went through quite a few administrative assistants until I finally found one that was actually a support and enabled me to work with more buyers and work with more sellers. And when I was able to do that, then it was a very clear vision on how to grow my team. Because then I was busting at the seams, and I realized my biggest time taker was showing properties. So at that point, I was able to hire a buyer agent, and really start to grow from there.
So if I'm, let's say I've, let's just say I'm a single agent out there doing, 40, 50 transactions a year. I want to take on my first admin that delegates the paperwork. And then at what point do you recommend somebody hiring a buyer's agent? Because I know you've really got this down pretty darn well with your business. And at what point would somebody know, is there a certain days that they're booked out when you're at a capacity? Is there a certain amount of leads? At
Yeah.
what point would you recommend somebody taking that plunge and hiring that agent?
So from personal experience, I think the second that working with buyers is interfering with generating and getting listings, the second you see that or feel that or sense that, it's time to get a buyer agent to take care of those buyers. And you got to train them, of course. And once they're trained, you need to let that go because we all know in this business, listings are the leverage and they're going to create the leads. And so if at any point in time in your career you feel like because you're working with so many buyers that you're inundated and you don't have time for your lead gen for sellers, listing appointments, whatever that is, any type of interference on your listings and the ability to generate listings, it's time to get someone to take over that buyer side.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. And today one thing I love about your model, and I know I flew out there about a year or so ago, and just kind of was a fly on the wall, just watching you guys, kick some serious ass out there. And one thing I love about your model is you've really got it set up where everybody is really as effective and as efficient as they possibly can be. You've kind of got that McDonald's assembly line kind of a setup. So kind of walk us through what your team structure is and the support roles each person plays and how you break that down.
Yeah, so we've currently got 6 full-time buyer specialists who exclusively work with buyers. They do not work with any sellers at all. We have 3 full-time listing partners who only work with sellers. I have a 3-person support team. So I have a closing coordinator, I have a listing coordinator, and I have a field coordinator. And then I have an executive assistant that runs the day-to-day operations, the accountability meetings, the daily huddles, all of those types of things. And then myself, I oversee. I do not currently work with buyers or sellers. I haven't actually done much buyer or seller activity in about 2 years now. So that's what my team structure looks like. As Josh said, we try to be as efficient as we can, and in doing so, that really comes down to having systems in place so that we can manage and empower all of our people. And so we do have many systems that we use to do that. It's important, I think, is the daily accountability and having those touch points. So knowing what your agents are doing on a daily basis and having your agents know what the critical touch points are. We keep it simple though, and we're going to track the calls, the contacts, and the appointments set every single day. And every agent's goals for calls, contacts, and appointments set are different based on their individual goals, because a team goal is really an accumulation of your individual team members' goals. And so we have everyone's goals, and we help walk them through the strategy. Why is this your goal? What's the pain? What is it that's causing you to want this? We're going to work all the way backwards until we get that daily activity and create those touch points for them. Then we have a daily huddle. We meet with our buyer team at 8:15. That goes till 8:30. Our listing team meets from 8:30 to 9. They take a little bit longer than the buyer team. And that's how we do our daily accountability. We have a weekly meeting on Mondays, and we go over everything as a team. We actually just finished reading, and I would advise everyone to do that, to read this, is The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Phenomenal book. Has been great for us, and especially learning about the trust and positive conflict. I'm sure you've probably read the book, Josh, right?
Yeah, is that Patrick Lencioni?
Yes.
Yep, awesome book.
Yeah, it's a great book. It's a great book. So that's how our team is basically ran on a day-to-day basis. We really focus not so much on the big goal, but the little goals broken down on a daily basis. And if we can win, and something we tell our team is we don't have to have a perfect day every day. We just need to have a perfect morning. And that's something that we really stress on our team.
Yeah, so you got these daily huddles, and I love that idea. So I guess question number one: are they mandatory? Because I know sometimes with agents or independent contractors on our teams, and sometimes it can be tough getting everybody in the office. So are they mandatory? And just give us kind of a sample of what's discussed maybe in those daily huddles.
Yes. So yes, they are mandatory. So what I can tell you is our agents are independent contractors, and so they don't have to be there, but they also don't have to be on our team. And so our mindset is, if you're going to be on the team, this is something that you're going to choose to do. And if not, that's okay, but we're probably not the right fit for you, because we want agents on our team that want to be held accountable to what they're telling us they want, and so that's important to us. So our daily huddles, 8:15 to 8:30 is the buyer daily huddle. And so the 6 agents and my executive assistant, they meet, and it's very quick. We first off ask about their daily touch points. How many calls did you have yesterday? Contacts and appointments set. And it's just around a circle. Typically they're standing up, actually. I mean, they're in the bullpen area, and it's just, it's just in their comfort zone. So we're going to ask how many calls, how many contacts, how many appointments set. How did you overall feel about your day? What are some things that you need help on? Any objection handling? Anything like that we can do, because we do have script practice once a week, and that's actually something I do. Is I work with my agents on scripting and how people interpret what you're saying and why they interpret it certain ways, because I think it goes beyond scripting and more about reading people and their personalities, and so we train on that. And so my executive assistant asks them questions during their daily huddles about things they're struggling with, or buyers are on the fence, what can we say, what's a good thing to do, and then we work on those once a week. We have our training on that. So that's what the buyer huddle looks like. Our listing daily huddle is a little more in depth, because we know the importance of listings. Without listings, we don't even need a buyer huddle, right? so we spent a little bit more time on the listing side, but it's going to start basically, and it's all done on a computer screen that's actually hooked to a TV monitor, and so it's very organized and it's very to the point, because it's important that we go from 8:30 to 9, because our mandatory lead gen and lead follow-ups are from 9 to 11, and so we're preparing. Everything we're doing is preparing for that lead gen, lead follow-up. So we're going to talk about the leads that came in from the day before, the appointments that came in from the day before, how many appointments were set, what's on the docket for today, any questions, concerns, and then they're going to get a list of 5 properties of their current inventory and where they need to be repositioned to in price. We don't want any of our inventory to ever become stagnant, and so we're actually going to assist and guide them in getting them repositioned, and that's going to be an accountability piece that we can talk about in the next daily huddle, is where are we at with these repositioning and prices. So we have what we call daily success calls, and so we call each time we take a listing, they get a day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we call them every day that week. Of that, every day on a Monday, we're going to call those listings, and so that's how we keep track and monitor, because we carry, like I said, we're down a little bit in our inventory. We have about 90 active homes right now. We're usually 120, 130. So in doing that, divide those by 3, and they've still got quite an inventory, but that's a way that we can keep it in small bite-sized chunks and keep them accountable for our inventory.
Yeah, well, that's awesome, man. And I love the daily focus. It's it's you win enough days, you win enough weeks, you win enough months, you win the year, right? So
That's exactly right.
so you talked about the 9 to 11 lead gen that's mandatory every single day. So that's I'm assuming that's all the agents in the team. And really, what does that look like? So I mean, are they dialing everybody in the system? Are they cold calling, going after prospecting new leads, or is it leads in the system? What
Yeah.
does that look like?
Yeah, so it's different, and it's different and intentional. So of course, I think a lot of times agents are on my team because they've seen that I've been successful, but most agents don't know why I've been successful, and I can account 2 hours of every day as to the reason I was successful and am successful, and that's my daily lead gen and lead follow-up and how detailed it was. And so that's what we're striving for everyone on our team, because this business, it's not hard, but you've got to be disciplined long enough to create a habit to where you do it every day, right? And so what we teach is this 2-hour time frame, and that's what I talk about. We don't have to have a perfect day, but we need to have a perfect morning, and that's really a perfect 2 hours is what we need to be successful in this business. And so within that time frame, it's going to look a little different for everyone depending on their goals and what their structure is. And however, I'm a firm believer in separating that time, and what I mean by that is you're going to spend, first of all, lead gen is different than lead follow-up. So you're going to spend the first hour generating for new business, people you've never talked to. That can be done many different ways, through our system that we use on our team called Team Leads, which has an auto dialer built in. A lot of our agents use that auto dialer during their lead gen time, and they're trying to communicate with different internet types of leads that they haven't communicated with. Once that's done, then they could do some circle prospecting, where they're going to call around a new listing, or they're going to call around a mega open house event, whatever that may be. They spend some time doing that as well. That's generating new business. Lead follow-up is going to be the second hour. That's going to be people you've met with, you've talked to, your sphere of influence. That's going to be those types of people, and those are separated times intentionally. And so we have another system on our team where everybody at the end of the year, the fourth quarter, they put together their top 30 sphere of influences. Who can you expect one referral from a year? You put your top 30 together, they get named a day of the week, just like our listing team. Those 30 sphere of influences are going to get called every day. I'm sorry, a day of the month, 1 through 30, and they're going to get called that day of the month for them. And we're going to do that every single month. In the fourth quarter, we're asking permission from all 30 of those sphere of influences. Hey, we're expecting one referral from you. Is that fair for us to do? Yes. Okay, great. I'm going to call you once a month just to remind you. And so systems around all of that and systems around the lead gen is very important. Got to be purposeful.
Yeah. So, and one thing I find with a lot of agents that I speak with, all over the country, is it tends to be where leads aren't necessarily the issue. It's the follow up processes that seem to be the issue. The amount of frequency. It seems like the average agent. I heard the other day from Zillow that your average agent follows up with a lead in 40 minutes and touches them twice and then forgets it, right? So they're just going after that lowest hanging fruit. What does that process look for you guys? Because I know you guys are just relentless on your follow up. Once they go in your system, I mean, how frequently are you hitting them,
Yeah.
and for how long?
Yeah. So I tell you, you're exactly right, and we preach that as well. It's so easy to call someone one time or two times, but the person that actually converts them into a closed transaction, which is money in your pocket, is the person that calls them 13, 15, 18 times. And of course, that's going to be different on the temperature of the lead that you're getting, which different sources. But you're right. The key to follow up is where it's at. I think the number one way to do that is automated as much as possible. And so if you have an automated system that's going to begin with getting them in a system, which is important. We find that so many of our call-ins or our text leads or whatever those leads may look like, they weren't getting put in systems, and so we had to create a way that they automatically go into a system, because without that, it's hard to get them into the system. Once they get into the system, then it's not so hard because it's automated follow-up. Combined with calls, emails, text messages. So we use a system, like I said, team leads, and all of our leads are in team leads. Everything filters through team leads, in which we have different action plans associated with different leads. If they're a seller, they're going to go on. If they're an expired seller, they're going to go in the system every day, and they're going to get an automated drip plan, an action plan that is for that type of lead. If they're a buyer lead coming from Zillow, they're going to go straight into our site, and they're going to have their own action plan associated with what we feel converts Zillow at the highest rate. So all of them are going to be different, but they're all going to be automated, and so it takes air out for my agents, and it allows us, as kind of the CEO looking over, to be able to monitor and control the system that they're using to make sure that we're all doing it the same way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And when those leads come into the system, I mean, at what point do they go out to your agent team? I mean, do you have one of your assistants support staff that's kind of overseeing the leads and getting to the point where they're at communication and then transfer over to the agent, or do they come in and they go right to the agent?
Yeah, so the buyer leads, they come in and they go right to the agents. They go directly to the agents, and they go straight on a plan we call 21 days of gain, which you may have heard of. There's some other folks that use a similar plan to that, and basically we're touching them twice a day for 21 days. We want to annoy them to where they either say yes, let's talk, or no, we're not interested anymore. So we're going to hit them twice a day for 21 days, and that's going to be a combination of phone calls, text messages, and emails. We're going to be very consistent with that. Our emails are going to, typically in the 21-day plan, 90% of our emails are going to be video emails. So they're going to be the agent themselves that the lead is assigned to, sending them video emails, telling them about the market, telling them about different things. And so we're going to hit them very, very hard. On the sell side, our system pulls expires, withdrawals, and for sale by owners on a daily basis. We're currently in the process of hiring another ISA, which we did have. We don't have one currently. So those are currently going to my executive assistant. So all the seller leads go to my executive assistant right now, and the appointments get set on behalf of my listing partners.
So let's kind of jump into your systems. I know, especially when you're running a mega team like you have, it gets to the point where it's impossible to manage people. We've got to manage the systems that manage and empower our people. And you're talking a lot about systems, and I truly don't feel there's much more important in our business than having great systems in place. So you got this amazing system that has all these automations, allows you to inspect what you expect, making sure that your people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I know that you're actually the owner of the system Team Leads. And
Yeah.
I was just reading an article the other day that you were ranked the most powerful CRM in the whole entire real estate industry, which is amazing because you guys just launched about a year ago.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, Team Leads has been an interesting venture, and so I follow a lot of the models that Gary Keller teaches, and I know a lot of agents, regardless of brokerage or affiliate, have read his material. He's a smart business person. Um, and his models talk about how you need to have at least four different pillars in your career. And so, of course, most of us listening to this, our first pillar is going to be our real estate business, right? And so we put focus on our real estate business so that we can, in the future, have different pillars of income. And so, something that hit home with me in building my first pillar was the lack of a system that kind of did it all. I was paying for all these different systems out there, and so I started talking with a lot of the top agents in the country, you being one of them, Josh, and getting feedback on what you guys are seeing and what you wish were out there and what you guys are looking for. And so I had this wild idea that, oh, this is going to be easy. Let's just create a system that works for all of us. And 2 years later, we do have team leads, but it's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I can tell you that. But we've put a lot of time and energy, and we've worked with a lot of top teams in the country to generate an automated system that will take you from the time that you get a new lead. It will walk them all the way through the process, the nurturing, the conversion, the pending, the transaction, all the way into an aftercare program. So it's really an all-inclusive CRM for mega teams. And it's something that's very much systematized and automated my personal real estate business as well as a lot of top teams in the country. And so, yeah, we were very honored for them to say that about Team Leads being the most powerful CRM. It's been great.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the agents listening to this call, or lenders or broker owners that are going to be listening to this call, so many of us agents that are in the business, and I know that I've been there so many times where, yeah, you're operating out of five different systems. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm operating maybe out of some Google Drive spreadsheets, and then I'm operating out of a CRM, and then
Mm.
then maybe Red X or Mojo or Vulcan 7, and then Bomb. You talked a lot about that, which this incorporates all of that, correct?
That's right. We're fully integrated with Vulcan 7 as well as BombBomb. So a lot of the prospecting-based teams, which most teams have a prospecting-based, they're prospecting-based and marketing enhanced, and a lot of the prospecting base is coming from Vulcan 7 because of the validity of their data that they pull. So our system pulls expires, withdrawals for sale by owner right out of the MLS systems, right into the seller side of the system, making it very easy to have that. As Josh mentioned, Zillow talking about the average agent calls one or two times. This gives you the ability to automate that process so that you know exactly how many times every lead's being communicated with. And then the integration with BombBomb for video, email, and the ability to track what those consumers are watching and looking at and clicking on has been huge and it will be a never-ending process, of course, but for getting our automated drip plans to convert at the highest level possible. We can see which emails are getting open and which aren't, and we can start to see that history of this email is not getting open. We need to tweak that message or something about that. So yeah, it's really been a good success for us, and to be quite honest with you, it's been awesome to help other teams grow by creating a system that we've all wanted for so long.
Yeah, and it's so huge when you talk about the video conversion rates, because a lot of times, what we think is important for the consumer to hear, and maybe in our professional experience, we know it's what they need to hear, but it's not what they really care to hear. Some of the stuff I put out there, it's like I'm like, oh, this is exactly what they need to hear. This will really have an impact on them. It gets zero, zero. The opening rates are horrible, and then something I think's junk just explodes the opening rates and gets communications. So, tracking that's absolutely huge.
And something that I thought was critical in these action plans and those auto drip plans is I read this and I don't remember where, but they said we're in an information gathering world. Everyone is inundated with information now, right? It's if you want to know something, you can find it instantly. So the key in getting higher conversions is not giving information, but it's telling people what that information actually means to them, and it's putting that in their shoes. And so that's something that we train here. We don't just talk about interest rates have dropped 0.5%. What does that mean to them? Does that How much are they saving on a monthly basis? Information is out there and we all have information. It's interpreting the information for the consumer. That's what they need.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. So let's talk about, with the system. I know you're able to do this through team leads, but let's kind of talk about, somebody that maybe is growing a team or has the desire to grow the team. The importance of holding your people accountable, inspecting what they expect. How do you do that? How often are you checking the system? I believe team leads, you get a daily report card. What are you looking for when you're monitoring your people?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think so often as a team leader, and I know I've been fault at this, is I used to look at pendings, and I realized that that's not really what it's about. It's about the daily activities, and that's what we can actually control. And so going back, we're gonna look at those touch points, calls, contacts, and appointments set. Those are the most important things for me. And if my agents are hitting those touch points that they're supposed to be hitting, and they're not getting the pendings, then I know that's my fault. That's my fault as a leader somewhere. What they're saying, the way it's being interpreted, the training isn't there. And so it allows me to be a better leader. And so I'm not so much focused on the new pendings as much as I'm focused on them meeting their daily activity goals. That's
Yeah,
really where it's at. And so the pretty simple, consistent communication with your team, and we do that through daily huddles, and activity awareness. So we're going to have one-on-one meetings once a week, and we're going to really hone in on, are you winning the day, or are you kind of winning the day, or are you slacking? Something I thought was great that I read is we can't survive on motivation. And motivation alone will get us nowhere because our emotions are up and down. So it's got to be discipline, and you got to be disciplined long enough to create a habit, because you can't survive on discipline either. And so we're going to try to help them through that. As a leader, I think our job is to help keep them motivated and keep them disciplined so that we can then create habits that are going to get them to their goal. So I think the number one thing is going to be consistent communication, and that should be done daily. I
yeah,
know
no,
I need it daily myself, so I think everyone else.
yeah, hell yeah, I hear that, man. So, I know when I was there about a year ago, and I sat through some of your huddles, which were pretty awesome. You had the teammates coming in and turning in a sheet to you, and I think there was like 30 daily or weekly calls that they had to hit and kind of jot down their answer rates and who they talk to and who their communication was. Are you still using that form today or something similar to that?
Something similar. So now it's through the scorecard and team leads. So that was another one of those hurdles that a lot of teams were jumping through, is having their agents fill out these daily reports. Well, with our auto dialer system and our scorecard, we're able to get that report automated, and instead of it being weekly, we get it daily, and then we can compile it by clicking a button to see what their weeklies are, what their monthlies are. So it's now automated. But yes, we still get that, and we still talk about that in the individual meetings, and we pop that up on the computer.
Yeah, no, I love that, man.
Yeah, and it scores them. And the cool part about the scorecard, for any team leader, this is a pretty awesome feature, because as I said earlier, each agent on your team, they have different goals, and so their daily activities look different. However, with our scorecard, you can weight it based on their individual goals, and so they're going to get a daily score based on their personal goals. But when you're looking at it as a whole for your team, it's comparing apples to apples because they all have a certain percentage of activities for that day that they've completed based on their personal goals.
Yeah, I mean, it really creates a full-on system of accountability where they can't hide behind an excuse. It's like, did you do the work or did you not? It's makes it tough to hide.
That's exactly right.
So you talked a little bit about hiring and making the wrong hires. And I think that's one of the biggest, and I know it's a learning curve we all have to go through, and I know we've all made a lot of bad hires in our days. What are you doing today to make sure that you're not just finding the right fit as far as their goals and the hustle that they have, but I know your team's got an amazing culture. Kind of what does that look like with your hiring process to make sure that you're as much as you possibly can hiring right the first time?
Yeah, so we've slowed it way down, and that only took place because I have an executive assistant that forces me to slow it down. My nature is to hire fast. I feel like I'm a good reader of people, and so I want something, I want it now. And I think that's probably the way a lot of us team leaders are that are running teams, is we're pretty, driven and we want things done now. So the biggest thing that I think has improved is hiring slow. We're typically anywhere from a 3 to 4 interview process, regardless of the position on the team. They're all going to go through a full DISC profile personality assessment. We're going to then validate that assessment. I think that's a missing piece. I think a lot of us talk about getting these personality assessments done for potential hires, but then you actually have to validate it. And the way you validate it is you sit down with them in another interview and you talk to them about what this DISC means, and then you ask them questions based on their DISC, and you have them explain life stories as to how this is this right? Would you say this is how you are? Okay, great. Explain to me a situation where this is how you have been. And so you really validate and get to know that person at a much deeper level. And then depending on the position on your team, there's other personality assessments that you can dig into to get deeper with that person. But I think that's critical, especially maintaining the culture of your team. You want to know exactly who you're getting, what makes them tick, what makes them run, what motivates them. Slow that process down of hiring people is critical.
Now, when you say you're doing multiple interviews, are the multiple interviews with you and your executive assistant, or do you bring in the other teammates and do a group interview style?
Yeah, no, they actually start with my executive assistant, and she typically does the first 2 to 3, and then I sit in on the last one typically, and I just I'm kind of there overseeing, just to get my feel on the individual. But my executive assistant typically does the first 2 to 3 before I'm a part of it, and the first interview is typically over the phone.
Awesome, man. No, I like that. So awesome, awesome advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and I know in your market, you're everywhere. You drive down the street, you see it on billboards, all the radio stations. I know you're, put a lot into your marketing there, and you get huge results out of it. What type of marketing are you currently doing that's crushing it? And then, kind of a follow up question to that would be, for maybe somebody that's not at your level that doesn't have the marketing budget, what would you recommend that they go out there that really anybody, it doesn't matter what their income is or experience in the business could go out there and do and start getting results right away?
Yeah, so my biggest returns that I see, and of course, when we talk about mass marketing, all mass marketing is geared towards generating seller leads. So that's very important. I see the mistake of so many agents that maybe they're running radio campaigns and the campaign is geared towards generating a buyer lead. That's wrong. You need to be generating seller leads with your mass marketing. So some big things that work for me is, like Josh said, I'm a big radio guy. I'm on pretty much every radio station in town, with a unique message that's going to help generate seller leads. I'm on billboards with a unique message to generate seller leads. As I said before, we're home of the Fighting Illini, the University of Illinois, so I do a lot of marketing with the University of Illinois, to help get my appearance on the campus community. We also do a lot of circle prospecting, which is huge for us. We've returned to print as well. So we now have a magazine that we distribute 10,000 copies a month around the community. And so we're trying to do things that other agents aren't doing, that separates us from the pack. As far as getting to where I'm at, it comes from hard work, and it comes from, like I said before, a prospecting-based business, having that discipline to create the habit to do it every day. So if you're not at a position, and I wouldn't even advise you to start by doing radio or to start by doing billboards, I would advise you to start by getting on the phone. And whether that be through circle prospecting, calling a just listed or a just sold, And if you don't even have listings and you see another home in a subdivision that has sold, you can still call about that property and tell them that a property in your subdivision has just sold and you're curious if they're looking to buy or sell. So you can use other people as leverage in your marketplace. Circle prospecting, it's free, and you can get your face and your mouth in front of a lot of people in a very short amount of time. So that's one thing I would recommend, and of course, expires, withdrawals, and for sale by owners. That's what I built my business on. My business is still heavily focused on that, and doing that every single day is very important.
Yeah, so when you're doing this circle prospecting, and I think that's yeah, because here's the thing is like you said, man, everybody's got a phone, costs you nothing, other than some time, and when especially when you're new, you've got plenty of time, you just don't have the money, right?
Yep.
So calling just sold, I mean, is your script that basic where it's hey, this home just sold in your area, looking to see if you're looking to buy or selling, or is there another unique message that you're doing where you guys are getting results with that?
Yeah, so the way we do it is when we call the just solds, we tell them that we've just sold a property, if it's our listing, we've just sold a property in your neighborhood. And so we wanted to call to, first of all, let you know that we sold this property. But second of all, in marketing this property, we've been able to generate a large amount of buyer leads. And we have more buyers for your area. And we were wondering if you or if someone you know in the area may be interested in selling anytime in the near future. We have buyers that are ready now, and we have buyers that are on a 6 to 9 month schedule. And so we wanted to reach out and touch base with you just to see if we could help you get a head start or a jump start on anything in the future. If not, that's okay, and we appreciate talking with you, and we'd love to get you on a market snapshot if you're interested. And this is going to just keep you up to date on what activity is taking place in your subdivision. Is that something you'd be interested in?
Yeah, that's huge. Because I mean, at the end of the day, all sales businesses today are just list building. The vast
That's
majority
right.
aren't looking at selling, so, but you still get them into your world, and you're dripping on them for who knows, 10 years down the road when maybe they are looking at selling.
We want email addresses.
Yeah, I love it, man. And then you talked about unique messaging on your billboards, your direct mail, your radio. What does that look like? Is it a sold we buy it kind of a guarantee, or what is unique messaging?
It is. So my unique message, and it's going to be different in every market, but my unique seller proposition is your home sold in 59 days or I'll buy it. So we have a 59-day marketing plan, and there's a lot of information that goes into that. But that's our USP, unique selling proposition for generating seller leads. And I think the key in whatever market you're in, and if you haven't read the book Positioning, I think it's a good book that you should read. But the key is to position yourself on the ladder uh, in a position that no one else can really copy and mimic. And so if someone else is using different USPs, there's plenty that you can create that's going to make your phone ring.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, even if you're new in this industry, something as is small as 59 days or less, or you can fire me, or 59 days or less, or I pay you $1,000 and you credit commission at closing. It doesn't have to be huge at risk.
So I tell you something, Josh, that can work for a lot of newer agents as well, and it's a very strong message, and it's what we call our one-day listing agreement. And so we say, list with the Ryan Dallas team for one day, and if any time after that you're unhappy, you can fire me. And so all that is a hassle-free listing. But when you word it as a one-day listing agreement, and at any time after that you can fire me, makes your phone ring off the hook.
Yeah, that's something I stole from you about 2 years ago, and I stole that 100%, and it does. I mean, it gets people ringing because they're like, how they call you up, they're like, how the hell are you going to sell my house in one day? They don't really understand the messaging, and it's just all about getting them on the phone and getting face to face, and yeah, it's
Once once
that's
you get once you get them on the phone, if you're trained and you're scripted well, and you're going to convert them. I mean, that's the key.
Yep, I love it, man. So and I know, and I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but I kind of jotted a note and had a follow up question. I know last time I was out there, you were starting to do listing appointments in the office instead of going to the home. Is that something that you're still doing today?
Yes, so that's a good question. We do, I would say over 95% of all of our listing consultations are in the office. So our once ISA, like I said before, now and our executive assistant is scheduling all listing appointments. They schedule them in the office. They're about a 40-minute listing consultation. The sellers come to the office. I've got a professional video that I had created, and it's actually me doing the entire listing presentation. That's another system because now I know it's the same every time. So they come in, they get a bottle of water and a notepad, and they watch my listing presentation. It's a 15-minute, pretty much on the spot, 15-minute listing presentation video. Once that's over, the listing partner then goes through, any questions they may have based on our video and our marketing and how our commission structure works, all of that stuff, which is all overviewed in the video. And then the listing partner's job at that point is to price the property right and get it listed. So yes, we do all of our consultations for the most part. 95% or more are in the office.
So, a lot of people when they're listening to this, and I love your script on this, but a lot of people that are listening to this are gonna just jump immediately. Oh, that won't work in my market, and what works for you in your market will work for anybody in their market. But I know what's going through their mind right now, and it's kind of the same thought process I had when you first told me about this. Was, well, how can you sell their house without seeing the product, um, with pricing. So kind of walk us through the strategy. I know you sent out your photographer, but then you have a script that just gets people in the office and differentiates you guys from everybody else.
Yeah, so I had this limiting belief as well, and as a prospecting-based person, calling a lot of expireds, I would get a lot of pushback, and for the longest time, I was actually for expired sellers. I was going to their house, and then I had this, bright idea that hit me, and it's all about, scripting yourself to where you're positioned a little bit differently, so the perception is different in the general public. And keep in mind, any limiting belief you have, I have had. I'm in a very small market, and so people know I do things differently. And so I had a lot of limiting beliefs that I couldn't do this in my market because I'm in a small market. This would only work in a big market. So I think it goes both ways. We all probably tend to feel the same way that it won't work here. But for expireds, for instance, they would say, yeah, what time can you come over? And I say, well, actually, I'm going to I do my listing consultations in the office. And they say, oh, interesting. So you're not going to come and look at my home. And you say, well, no, my team will see your home. I'll actually have two different sets of eyes on your home once we list your property. But we're going to do our initial listing consultation in the office. And they're going to say, well, I've got two other agents that are coming out that I'm interviewing. And so you're telling me that you're not going to come to my house. And I say, that's exactly right, and that's great that you have two other agents coming to your home to interview. Can I ask you a question? And they say yes, and I say, the last agent that had your house marketed, did they come out to your property as well and do a listing interview with you? And they say yes. And I say, so that's great. So the other two should come out and do the same thing that the last agent did for you. And then let's meet in our office and let me explain why I'm different. And the first way I'm different is that we're going to meet at my office and we're going to go over my entire marketing plan. And you're going to see what we do differently to guarantee that your home sells this time. And once I created that script, I've never had a problem again.
Yeah, no, I love it. And it just allows, again, we talked about efficiency and effectiveness. And I mean, I don't know, with three by our listing specialists, I mean, you can probably crank out what, 10 plus listing appointments a day doing that structure.
Oh no, yeah, we're set up for three listing appointments a day per agent is what we're set up for. And the reason for that is because they're pretty strictly time blocked. Our listing position is so much different than a typical realtor. Their hours are pretty much normal. So not only do we have them in the office, but we tend to have them during business hours. And it just changes the entire presentation, the entire feel, takes the emotional aspect of selling a home drastically out of the process, and it becomes more of a business decision.
Yeah, it really positions you as the professional in the space.
Exactly.
Um, are you still? I know for a while there you were doing a showing assistant model as well. Is that something that you're still doing today?
Just with one agent, yes. So I've got the way it's structured currently is once I have a buyer agent that hits 50 transactions, they have the ability to have a showing partner. So I have one agent, my brother Josh, that utilizes a showing partner.
So and I mean, and Josh just crushes it. I know last time I was out there was something like, is a buyer's agent on the team, strictly working with buyers. He was doing 100 and some units a year and just a massive amounts of business. So, how does that work? If I'm an agent, let's say I just don't necessarily enjoy the listing side. I absolutely love the buyer side. There's a way to leverage your business and increase the transaction side still by working with those buyers. So can you just kind of briefly touch on how the showing assistant works and what the role is there?
Yeah, so basically, the lead buyer agent or the buyer agent with the showing partner is going to be in charge of that daily lead gen, that daily follow-up. They're going to be the person that is converting the person, the potential client, into an in-office appointment. They're then going to go to the in-office appointment with the showing partner, and they're going to make that introduction there, make that connection. And it's really just about streamlining your systems even more into specialties, and that's the way we present that. So Josh, the lead buyer agent, will then talk about all the benefits and what you get with working with our team, and go through our loyalty agreement, which is our buyer agency agreement. We call it a loyalty agreement. They're going to go through our loyalty agreement, and then he's going to introduce the showing partner and say, here's my showing partner. Her job is to be available for you 7 days a week to look at properties. She'll be able to open the doors and answer questions for you. When you're ready to write an offer on the property, I specialize in negotiating to get you the best deal, the best terms that you can get for your money. And so I'm going to be here to answer any questions throughout the process. But my real specialization is going to come in negotiating to get you the best terms. In the meantime, you'll be with my showing partner. She'll be showing you properties and be available for you, like I said, 7 days a week. We want to make this as easy and stress-free on you as possible, and this is how our system works. And it really is a great system. And it allows the buyer agent to leverage their time out in the car and to increase their time in the office generating more buyer leads.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And again, it just comes down to that efficiency and effectiveness, and it's almost unheard of you hearing a buyer's agent doing 100 deals a year, but it's all possible.
And I tell you what's even more possible, and people can open their eyes to this, and it's thinking a little outside the box. But when you get a buyer agent that's doing 100, and you give them a showing partner, and then all of a sudden they do 125, okay? And then you get them two showing partners, and now they're hitting 200 because they've alleviated all the showings off of them. And then they hire an inside sales agent that do their lead gen for them, and now they're the CEO of their buyer team.
Yeah, I love that, man. So you're very well scripted. You're you know polished on your scripts, but I don't want everybody to think that didn't that just happened or you were born that way. You talked about doing weekly script training with the team. I know that you do a lot personally where you're constantly studying scripts and perfecting them. What does that look like? I mean, how much time of your focus and I know you're doing your meeting a week with everybody, but just talk about that because so many people just get out there and they just want to jump in the game and go play ball all day. They don't take a step back and actually practice and work, role play and practice and perfect their own abilities on their own time. So kind of walk us through what that looks like for you.
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer on having a coach. And that probably goes back to all my days of playing baseball. And I look back, and a lot of my analogies are with sports teams. But Michael Jordan, best basketball player ever, had a coach, has always had a coach. So wherever and whatever level you're at, the importance of having a coach, I can't stress enough. And so I've had a coach my entire career. I still have a coach. And my original coach, I've gone through some different coaches as I've grown professionally and personally. But my original coach said, you need to spend 3 hours a week on your business, working on your business. And so Friday afternoons, I used to work on my business. My phone was off, not checking email. I was planning. I was working on my business. How am I going to grow this to the level I want this to be at? And so that's important, and I still do that today. I work on my business all the time, and so much of my working on the business now is helping agents, teaching them, training them, like Josh said. My agents also have a coach. My agents have a coaching call every single day, Monday through Thursday, I'm sorry. So they have a 45-minute coaching call every single, or Monday through Thursday, training them. We want to be the most trained possible. It's very important to spend the time working on your business. And I know early on in my career, when I was on a team myself, I didn't take that time because I thought working on it was taking away from making money, but it's actually increasing the amount of money and potential that I have. So currently, that's the majority of my time. So I'm currently in my real estate business, Josh. I'm here about 7:45, 8 o'clock in the morning. and I'm working in my real estate business until about noon. And that's going to be anything from working with my executive assistant, attending daily huddles on the occasion, to working on training for new script practicing, helping the team with objections, that kind of thing, preparing for the scripting class. That's going to be about every day. I'm doing that until about noon, and then my afternoon is filled up with team leads activities.
Yep. Love it, man. So, and you kind of touched on this earlier, or early on in the interview in the beginning, talking about your teammates' goals. And every successful entrepreneur person I've ever met, whether it's real estate related or not, seems to be pretty massive into goal setting and take it very serious. So, what does goal setting consist of and look like for you personally? And then what does it look like, for your team? I know you guys do some team retreats and some different stuff to kind of get away from the noise. So, what does that look like?
Yeah, so goal setting for me is actually no different than the goal setting for the team, and the reason that is because I'm such a huge believer in goal setting, and so we're going to have big goals, and we're going to have big personal goals, we're going to have big professional goals, and we're going to break those goals down. So we're going to have 5-year goals, we're going to have 4-year goals, we're going to have 3-year goals, we're going to have 2-year goals, and we're going to have 1-year goals. We're going to break all that down into weekly goals, and we're going to celebrate as we hit those goals. And so basically what that looks like, Josh, is for myself personally, I've got personal goals. Maybe it's, I have family goals, relationship goals. I have, as you and I have talked, I have, health goals. Get back into training 3 or 4 months ago now, with the help of you, actually. Down 25 pounds, by the way.
That's
I don't know if I
awesome,
told
man.
you
Yeah,
that.
that's awesome, brother.
Yeah. So I'm a huge believer in the goals. And so those are gonna be in front of me. They're gonna be every single day. I'm gonna look at those every day. Make sure every day my calendar is a reflection of my goal, and I think that's very important. Your schedule has to be a reflection of your goal. And so you can't just want something, you have to schedule it and make it happen. And I know you're huge with that. You have your goals, and your schedule is a direct reflection of what your goals are. Um, and so that's going to be the same for my whole team. We're going to have personal and we're going to have professional. And the great thing about our team is when you have the trust on a team, which is going to create the culture, which is going to create that business that you're looking for that's going to thrive. When you sit down for your weekly meetings with your team members, and you're going over goals and where they're at, you're not just going over their professional goals. You're helping them with their personal goals as well. And I think that's a pretty awesome feeling to be able to not just help someone professionally, but it's even more rewarding to help them personally.
Yeah. No, it's about not just creating a big bank account, but creating epic lives, man. And I think
That's
that's so
exactly
important.
right.
You talk when we talk about retention. You not only help a teammate make more money than they've ever made, but when you help them lose weight and better their relationships, I mean, they truly become a lifer with your company.
That's right.
So,
Exactly right.
um, yeah, man. So, and before I know we gotta get to the point here where we gotta start wrapping up here in a moment, but um, let me just, if you don't mind putting it out there, because I know we talked a lot about team leads and you've got a really dynamic team that not a lot of people have in this industry. So if our listeners have questions for you, maybe about your team structure, how that works, and about team leads, and I highly recommend you guys check this out. He's got some awesome demos. It is the sickest, best CRM system that exists in our industry. So I highly recommend you guys check it out. But how can our listeners get in touch with you, Ryan, if that's something of interest to them?
Yeah, I'll give you my personal email address. It's Ryan at RyanDallas.net. That's Ryan at RyanDallas.net. Any questions you have regarding real estate, regarding Team Lead CRM, be more than happy to set something up to talk with you about.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. And so what's next for you and your team? I know you just came off or coming off one of your best years ever, and you got so many things going on in your life. What's next for you guys?
A lot of exciting things. So we've got some big goals for 2015 in our real estate team. We're looking to go from 318 transactions to 579. And so we've got some huge growth in store. With that's going to be probably four additional buyer specialists making it 10, one additional listing partner, so we'll be at 4. So we have some growth plans, and then in the next 2 to 3 years, there will be starting to see some expansion from myself, going into different markets, actually creating the Ryan Dallas team in multiple markets around. So I've got communities about 45 minutes to an hour away from me, separated by cornfields that we'll begin to merge into. So that's kind of the goals for the real estate team. Huge goals for team leads. We're really starting to hit that point where it's growing quickly. We've got one of my great friends from college is the CEO of our company. We're based out of Toronto, Canada. We have 15 awesome staff members there that are working hard every single day. And so we see some huge growth in 2015 for team leads, as well as that's going to directly impact huge growth for real estate teams as well. So we're very excited about 2015 and what it has to offer for everyone.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're going big places, man. I love watching it, love seeing it. So, our listener base, and we have everybody from you know, mortgage lenders that listen to our show here to owner brokers of large real estate companies to team leaders to brand new agents out of school. So, before we hang up here, any last words of encouragement or anything lastly that you want to talk to our listeners about just to really help them get out there and crush it on a whole new level? I mean, as we're doing this
Yeah.
interview, we've got about 2 days before 2015. So, any last words of advice to really help them take their business and maybe not just their business, but maybe their life to a whole new level in 2015?
Yes, I would say that remember that life is a blessing and life is awesome, and there's no goal that's too big for you to attain. So take your goals and break them down all the way until you get to your daily goals, daily activities, and create your schedule around that. And I promise you that if you do that and you stay true to your daily activities, that you'll look back one day and you'll hit goals. And remember, there's never a finish line. Companies that have finish lines die. And so once you hit where you want to be, celebrate it, but extend it. But that's the one thing I would say is whatever your goals are, break them down into daily activities because you can hit them.
Yeah, no, I love that. And you guys, as we always kind of end these calls, just making sure that you're implementing. We see a lot of people that go to conferences, that listen to these amazing calls, that have all this amazing information from top people on the planet that exist in the world, like Ryan. But don't take action and implement. So make sure you're taking. You guys heard so many amazing scripts today, amazing marketing ideas, things that don't cost you a penny that you can get out there and generate multiple listings on a weekly basis. So make sure you're taking action, make sure you're implementing. Ryan, it was an absolute honor and pleasure to have you on the show today, man. We greatly honor and appreciate your time, and thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate you having me, Josh. Always a pleasure to talk with you.
Yeah, you got it, my friend. You guys go out there, crush it, dominate, and make it an amazing day. Thank you for listening. Do not forget to follow me on Facebook, Joshua Smith GSD, on Twitter, @Joshua Smith GSD, Instagram, Joshua Smith GSD. Make sure to also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Type in Joshua Smith, and I'm the good-looking cat at the top. If you haven't already, go to www.joshuasmithgsd.com and subscribe to our email list. You'll get these interviews sent to you via email, along with my blog, videos, updates, and all that other fun shit. As always, make sure you're taking action. Take all this golden information that you're getting delivered here and make sure you're applying it. Information without implementation is the start of delusion. So implement. Take massive levels of action. Get your hustle on. Get into GSD mode and go dominate. Peace out, guys, and see you next time.